Now today we're going to look at a festive hat box, something that will be ideal to give as a gift to your friends or family. Welcome back to another tutorial. We've been looking at some Christmas designs and I'm referring to this as back to basics Christmas style, and this design is almost like a traditional posy shape, so an all-round design that can be seen from all directions, but I'm going to use a hat box as my container. Now I did initially think to pick up a festive hat box that was maybe glittery or sparkly or had some Christmas related designs on the front of it, but I thought that maybe if you were given it as a gift, a design that had Christmas colours could only be used during the festive period. So I thought if we chose something that looked quite festive, had the reds and the greens and the golds of the Christmas period, but didn't have that very specific design, could be used all year round. So your friend or your family that you're giving it to as a gift could reuse it later in the year. They could store items in it or at home, or they could gift it on to somebody else. So I've picked a fairly festive colour. It's greens. There's some little reds in there with a ladybird, and we've also got some pink colouring. And that's the colour choice and the colourway that I'm going to go with this particular design. I've gone with a supermarket bunch because I know that there's so many of you at home that want to arrange with flowers from your local supermarket. And this time I've picked up this very simple mixed bouquet from Morrisons supermarket, and I felt that the creamy tones worked really well with the box. And I'm also going to add some of the red roses. You might have seen me use these in previous designs. That's going to help pick up on the colour of that lovely little ladybird on the side. To bring in a little bit of sort of festive glitter, I'm going to use some of these little pepper berries. Now this is a dried flower. It's a pepper berry, and these have obviously been covered in some sparkly glitter, and that will help pick up on the pink tones that's in the pattern of my hat box. Now I can't remember whether I've done a hat box tutorial before, and there are many different styles of creating an arrangement in a hat box. You can do it front facing with the lid attached at the back. You can do it with the lid underneath the hat box. But I'm going to create what I'm referring to as a burger bun. So my hat box lid is going to sort of sit above the flowers in this position, just like a burger bun. The bottom piece is my second burger bun, and my flowers are going to come out of the centre part of the arrangement. It's just nice sometimes to see some different ways of arranging flowers, and that's the style that I think is going to work best with my choice of flowers and the different types of foliages that I've got. Now, to suspend that hat box lid above the flowers, I'm going to use 4 kebab sticks, and these are going to attach into my floral foam. Now I'm using green Oasis floral foam, and it's been a whole block has been cut in half, and I've sandwiched them on top of one another. If I just lean that forward, you'll be able to see how they're positioned there. There's a plastic liner that comes with the hat box, so I know there isn't going to be any water leakage. And what I need to do is to keep the level of those kebab sticks in the same position. So when I put the lid on top, it's going to sit nicely in position. Now that's way too tall. I'm going to have a design that's too full there in the centre and completely out of proportion. But what I'll do at the end of the arrangement is I will cut them down and trim them to the correct height. Now I'm going to use slightly different proportions for this design. I'm going to use the European design proportions 3, 5 and 8. So this bottom section becomes my biggest value, my biggest proportion. Then my flowers are going to be somewhere in the middle, and then my lid is going to be the smallest proportion. So in this instance, my hat box is going to be the more dominant part of the arrangement. And you can make the top section as full as you want it to be. You can use one type of flower if you want to, or you can do the same as me and arrange using several different types of flowers and greenery. Now I'm going to start with some lovely festive greenery. This one is the needle pine, and it's a lovely soft fine greenery, and I've already cut lots of short pieces, so that I'm almost creating a little bit of a frill around the outside of my container. It's going to be all round, so I'm going to keep turning it every now and again so that I have an even distribution of my greenery. I've got lots of different types already cut short in preparation. This one is Nordman pine. This is a lovely traditional pine that you often see on your Christmas trees. The needle pine, I think, is a little bit more unusual, and the texture is absolutely wonderful. Then we've got some ordinary conifer, much darker green. And what I've really looked for is inspiration in the colours that are on the outside. So there are light greens and dark greens, all those lovely festive colours. Now you're not going to see the centre of my arrangement because the hat box lid is going to be sitting on the top. So I don't need to worry about placing lots of greenery there in the centre because it's not going to be visible. I just want to make sure that I've got an even distribution around the outside. Very much like I said, like a skirt or a collar around the outside. If you don't have the same type of greenery as me, you could use common ivy from the garden, some camellia. You might be able to purchase some leatherleaf or some ruscus. Of course, there's eucalyptus. And at this time of year, during the winter months, most florists will have a selection of greenery for you that you can choose from. So if you've got a garden and you're lucky enough to be able to cut foliages, then just look for things that you find attractive, something to match the container or maybe to match your interior at home. But what you'll see is it's a fairly all-round design. I've got almost the same level of material around the outside, which is going to create that all-round effect. And then if I pop my lid on, that will give you a little bit of an idea of where your flowers need to go around the outside. If you're on a limited budget and you have a small selection of flowers, then covering that top section with a lid is really beneficial because it means that you can use less flowers around the outside of your arrangement. Right, let's get started with some flowers. Now, one of the flowers that you don't often see me arrange with is the alstroemeria. And if you're a beginner, they're very hard to work with if you try to cut them down into the individual stems. If you're going to use them on the thick, full main stem of the flower, because that is much stronger and will insert much better into the floral foam. Now I have 4 stems that have come in this supermarket mixed bunch. If you weren't putting the lid on, you would aim to have one there in the centre. But for the stems that I've got, I'm going to equally space them out around the outside. Now, often in traditional arranging like this, we would use an uneven number. So 3 or 5 tends to give you a rounder effect, a rounder look to your arrangement. But because I've got 4 in the bunch, I might as well use them rather than waste one and have nowhere for it to go. And if we look at this lovely alstroemeria, you can probably see that it's got a little red centre. That's going to work really well, giving me a link, repetition with my roses that I'm going to put in later on. So round the outside, I've angled them towards the edge. They're almost sitting on top of that foliage. And if we pop that lid back on, that's going to nestle quite nicely in amongst the flowers. Possibly might raise it up at the end, but we'll keep going and see how our design comes together. Also in that mixed bunch is the green hypericum. Again, a gorgeous colour link between my base. And this time I've only got 3. So now I need to spread the 3 out fairly evenly so that the colour is equally spaced out in my arrangement. So we've got a different pattern to when we put the 4 alstroemeria in, that the 3 green hypericum are equally spaced apart, and so are the 4 original alstroemeria that we put in. And sometimes that's quite tricky when you're learning because you almost want to follow that same pattern, but there's nothing I can do with that because I only have 3 of the second flower. Now I'm going to go with my red rose. These are a little bit shorter because I've used them in a previous arrangement. And I'm going to work my way in between each alstroem area. So low down, tucked in with the foliage. I often say it in tutorials, your foliage is the outline and your flowers should stay within the outline shape. If you're training to be a florist, that's really important, because if your design is damaged during transport, if your driver knocks it over, if he goes round the corner a little bit too quickly, then you know that the foliage is going to be the first thing that will get bumped or damaged. Same with your customer. If your customer is carrying it to their car, they accidentally knock it on the door of the car, you know that the foliage is the first thing that's going to be damaged. Right, now what I'm doing is adding 3 more roses, more up this time towards the top of the design. So we've got red at the base, coming all the way around, and then the red colouring of the rose is evenly distributed to the top as well. If I just tilt that forward for you, hopefully you can see the even distribution. Now I don't really need to come up any further at the top section there, because the lid is going to be hiding the middle section. But should my customer or my friend decide that they're going to take the lid off and have a peek inside, they're going to see just an empty piece of floral foam. So what I will do is just put a few short little bits of greenery in there in the centre. I didn't think about doing that at the very beginning. Now I'm thinking I might have a dissatisfied customer. If I spin it round, you've got a really lovely even distribution of the colours and textures, and the colour link with the base is absolutely wonderful. It's really quite fantastic. Now just around where this little ladybird is a pink flower. Might not show up very clearly on the camera, but that's the reason why I decided to introduce these little glittery pepper berries. And their natural sort of shape is slightly arching over. So I'm going to make use of the ones that have that nice shape to lean over the edge. It almost acts as another foliage then and introduces that new colour. And then with the ones that are a bit taller and have a more severe shape to them, I'm going to place them in the top section. Now this one is a bit too large, so I'm going to cut it in half, and then I've got 2 pieces that I can use in the arrangement. And what I'll have to do with that is attach it to a florist wire so that I have that fake stem to place into the floral foam. What I'll do here is use a wire, and then I'm going to wrap that around the stem so that I now have that wire protruding out of the base of that flower stem, so that I now have something to insert into my floral foam. That one can pop up high towards the top. And then my final piece, lovely bit of glitter, can sit there on the top. Also included in that supermarket bunch was the yellow rose, and we don't want to waste it. If you're at home and you didn't want to add it to your arrangement, you could do something different with these. Maybe just place them in a vase or make a small little arrangement with them. But I'm thinking that that pop of yellow is really going to brighten the arrangement and pick up on the yellow detail that's in the base. I often get asked, where does inspiration come from and where do ideas come from to make arrangements? And in this case, it would be the colours from the base. So now it's that moment of truth where we check to see if the lid of my hat box fits on the top. If it doesn't, then we can just slide a few of the flowers out of the foam and back in so it's in a better position. But I think that's worked really quite well. I'm loving that. So is that something that maybe you could have a go at home? As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every time I upload a new tutorial. So I think this is ideal for a Christmas gift, but you could give it at any time of the year. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.